Now, so this is the whole story is there, that when you are writing the research papers, you have introduction, you have a literature review, you have a methodology, you have a finding, you have a discussion, you have a conclusion. Remember, these are the five major. Conclusion is a part of discussion, but these are the five different components are there, and each component is critically important. If you're writing any good research paper, every single chapter or every single component is important. You cannot say that which one is less and which one is more. But from a reviewer point of view, reviewer means once you submit your paper, when it goes to the review process, the most critical part of your research paper is your introduction part. Because many times, for example, there are people who are very sophisticated in their statistical calculations and data analysis. So you have written a huge detail about your analysis part, but quite possible the reviewer is not very much aware about those kind of complicated, statistical calculation. So many times they just see the overall results, but they don't go in a detail, the procedures and all those kind of things. If you are lucky, you will get a reviewer who is not very much aware about that. If you are unlucky and you have done some analysis and then the reviewer is very much expert in that area. For example, my expertise is only methodology part. Okay. Now, if I receive a research paper, so my entire focus is on the methodology and the data analysis. Of course, I read everything, but when it comes to my comments and the critical arguments, I only focus on the methodology part. So if that is there, and if there is a mistake in that one, definitely you are going to get many, the questions and a comment, and that you have to address those kind of things. But in general, I can confidently say almost like a 50% time, majority of people don't touch methodology in a good detail, because they say that, it's your job, you have done, it's okay. But everyone is definitely going to read your introduction part. And if your introduction is not proper, is not satisfactory, it's not interesting, your paper will be rejected. No matter how good your methodology was or is, and how good analysis you have performed, nobody cares about those kind of things. Because if your introduction part is not really appealing and interesting, then forget about the rest of the story. Your paper will not survive in the review process. So when you are writing the research, you have to first understand that your introduction part is very critical for the survival during the review process. Literature review, it's okay. People understand that basically this particular part is not creative. Like, introductory part is a creative. Lots of things you have to add to create a storyline so people can get an interest, and then you can add the component. In the literature review part, it's like very mechanical in nature, because basically you are saying A relates to B, and basically you are just going to talk about A and B only. So you are going to write one paragraph that what is A, then you are going to write another paragraph what is B, then you are going to write a third paragraph how A and B is related with your storyline, plus some kind of literature support, and finally you are going to propose your hypothesis. So this is basically you are summarizing the information from the previous literature. You don't have a much space to do any creative job in the literature review. Similarly, your methodology part is very mechanical in nature, because most of the things are standard and you're simply going to follow the procedure. For example, if you use structural equation modeling, so there is a standard procedure is there that you have to explain that from what are the sources of data over there, how you collected the data, how you analyze the data. You have to talk about measurement model, you have to talk about reliability and validity. Finally, you have to talk about the structural model. That's it. And every research paper will talk about the same thing. So it's very mechanical in nature. If you don't know, it's a complicated thing for you. But if you know, it is not complicated at all. Now, finding part is again very mechanical in nature. Discussion is again creative part. Why? Because in a discussion part, it's not only that what your results are saying. You have to say what your results are saying, plus you have to say that why these results are there. And the big part will be there if by chance one of your results are not satisfactory, like it is insignificant, and literature is suggesting that that particular relationship is significant. Now it's not enough that you are going to say hypothesis number 5 is rejected. This is not the quality of writing. Hypothesis number 5 is rejected, and you have to say that a previous studies 1, 2, 3 found that this hypothesis was supported. However, another 1 or 2 study found that hypothesis was rejected. Again, your story is not finished here. You have to again say why this happened. At least 3-4 lines you have to write, and you have to give some reasonable justification that quite possible that the respondents issue was there, cultural issues are there, something, something meaningful you have to give in that particular place. You have to write something to explain that why this hypothesis is rejected, So accepted one, literature is saying accepted, you are saying accepted, you don't have a burden. But the moment your hypotheses are rejected, then definitely you have to have a very clear argument that why this is rejected. But anyway, that is again an interesting part, brief part, but nothing much is there. Okay, so in the whole writing process, majority of the things are very systematic in nature, except one thing, that is your introduction part. So normally what we do, normally when we write a research paper, we write introduction. Of course, we write introduction, but we write a draft introduction, or we say a rough introduction. So we write an introduction just to give us a clear understanding and a guideline. But remember, this is like a 60-70% done document. And then we work on a literature review. When we are working on literature review, still we are getting some meaningful information that we believe that should be added in the introduction part. When we work on a methodology part, data analysis part, analysis part, discussion part, again, we are getting few information that should be added in the introduction part. And finally, once your paper is completely done, almost, then you come back and you revise your introduction part again. And now once you are revising your introduction part again, now because you have done everything, so you know what you did, how you did, what you found, everything. And now you come back and then reread your introduction part, find out some recent paper from the top journal on your topic, see how they have written, what they have written, and what you are writing. Compare those kind of thing and add some meaningful information. That's it. This is the whole story there. By speaking, it looks very easy, but please believe me that when I write an introduction part, I think one of the most time-taking job for me is writing introduction part, because first I have to write a like 1 or 2 paragraph as an opening paragraph, and that is a storytelling. I have to tell that why I'm doing this study, what is interesting in this study, what attracted me to conduct this study. Then I have to find out some industry and empirical data to support that what I'm saying is actually really meaningful for this particular kind of thing. Then whether this study has any implication for a larger population, that also you have to include, because people are interested to know that what exactly is all about this study, why you are interested to do this study, what is the importance of this study, and then so what. So what means how this is going to be applied or implicated or meaningful for the majority of the people who are going to read your paper. So this is the job for you, that you are going to write in 2 paragraphs about the whole story. That will create an interest, that will create a kind of inclination for the people. Okay, let's read more. Then you have to go back and then find out some information from your literature review. And that is what we say, that what is already done. So there should be 1 paragraph that you have to write, that what other people have done on this particular topic. From this paragraph, the next paragraph will come, that you have to say that what is the research gap, means what other people have done, what is left, that you identified that there is a gap, and you are going to say that what is the gap is there. So you are going to say that previous studies have done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. However, they have not done this 1, 2, 3, and this is the scope of this study is there. But again, you have to say that why these 1, 2, 3 is important. What is the implication is there? Because if you are not telling this particular thing, that what is the importance is there, quite possible that say sometimes you say that I'm doing this one because nobody has done. Quite possible that is not important. That's why nobody has done, not necessarily that you have the, the brilliant mind that you identified the gap and nobody else has identified in the past. Quite possible that other people have identified, but they found that this is not meaningful. That's why they left. So in that situation, you have to understand that whatever you are saying that this is the research gap, you need to first understand that whether this is something meaningful, something useful, something is interesting, something has implication, or something has nothing. So all those kind of, readings are there, and that will come from your extensive literature review. Now, the next paragraph means sometimes fifth paragraph, you have to say that what exactly you are going to do to fill this research gap. Here your methodology comes. So here you have to say that we identified the research gap and we are going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And because of this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we are going to bridge the gap or going to fill the gap. So that is the part of your methodology part. If you are doing something extra other than the routine job, for example, everyone is doing a structural equation modeling or any regression kind of thing, but you combined any other method, 2 or 3 method to have a more robust result. Like for example, you're conducting experimental study. So you have to highlight there that you are doing the experimental study like a 3 or 4 study to validate the findings and to have a more stronger finding, something like that, So that is the part is there. And after that, you have to highlight that what is your research objectives are there finally. And then after the objectives, you have to just write another paragraph about overall contribution of your study, because after objective you are going to say that total contribution of your study. And finally, one small paragraph about your structure of research paper. Means in general, if you're going to write your complete introduction chapter or introduction part of your research paper, it will be something between 2.5 to 4 pages, something between 2 to 4. 2 is too less and more than 4 will be not advisable, but anything between 3 and 4 pages will be more than enough, but it will take time. Why? Because it's not like that you read something and directly you can write something. You have to think, understand, create a story, make something interesting, make something appealing, add some recent literature, add some recent industry data to create a kind of environment where the readers can read and can find something meaningful for them. And your writing should be clean, no spelling mistake, no grammatical mistake. You should not use lots of passive sentences. Most of sentences will be active sentences kind of thing. On the top of that, try to use smaller sentences. Don't write a longer sentences like 3 or 4 line sentence. That is not advisable. The smaller the sentences, the more clear meaning it delivers to the reader. So all those, small issues are there that we need to focus on the introduction part. Now, before the introduction part, 2 critical things are there that you have to think about: the title of the page, sorry, title of your paper. So title is something that is, very important. Why? Because before people are going to read your introduction, definitely they are going to read your title. Title is the first thing that people are going to see. It's like a face value. So the face value is very important. If you're writing very complicated title, it will be problematic one. Too long title, it will be problematic one. So if you see any good title is between 8 to 15 words. It should be relevant with your subject. So whatever your total research paper is talking about, your title should go with this. Not like that you have a different title and the paper is having a completely different story. In a form of a phrase, correct English and grammar should be there, and avoid any abbreviation. Abbreviation means like the small, the words like ATT and something like that. Avoid such kind of thing unless it is very, very common thing. And even it is very common thing, preferably avoid it. Now, this is the, some kind of advice is there that when you are writing your topic, you have to understand that write an innovative and appealing topic. So innovative and appealing topic is advisable, but please understand that at the same time, it should be very relevant to your topic. It should be simple. It should be understandable. It should be between 8 to 15 words and all those kind of thing. Nowadays, lots of people are doing what? They have some ideas, they go on the chat GPT and then they ask chat GPT that, can you suggest, 4 or 5 topics on this particular topic? And the chat GPT is basically suggesting, they find something really interesting and they copy and paste and they say, this is my topic. It's okay. Chat GPT or any AI tool you can use. There is no harm in that one. But please remember one thing, that chat GPT is a machine, it's AI, it's a machine. It's a artificial, the neural network trained large language model. It's not having a human touch, So don't mechanically use the tools. Use everything. I'm not saying don't use. You have to flow with the current, but please understand that use your brain, It's not like that simply copying and pasting anything you like and copy and paste. Use it, but properly, make it more relevant to the journal of your target. So whenever you are writing a research paper, you have to keep in your mind that which journal you are interested to submit your paper. See that what kind of paper they are publishing, what kind of analysis they are doing, what kind of overall structure they are using, and what kind of topic they are publishing. So once you know that what exactly they are doing, accordingly you can do something better than whatever actually you do without knowing this kind of thing. Don't country specific. Lots of people say I study of India, I study of Arunachal, I study of Mizoram, all those kind of things. It's not required. Nobody is interested to know about a specific country. Even though you are doing a study in a specific area, but you are not suggest to use those kind of topics. So don't country specific. It's limit the scope of the article. Don't indicate the sector. Again, it's not required like a automobile sector, this sector, that sector. You can have kind of thing like a broader kind of thing. And then there are certain guidelines are there. I will share this slide with you guys so you can read those kind of thing whenever you have time and to understand, because if I'm going to explain everything, it will take a lot of time and we will not be able to complete that introduction part. Now, after your title, the second most important thing for you is the abstract. Now, the problem is abstract is something, is a summary of your article. You have to write approximately 200 to 250 words. Most of the journals have a very strict limitations. Like when you're submitting, they say 150 words means 150, 200, 250. This is the standard limitation is there. Means if you're going to write abstract, you have to be very, very careful that what exactly you are writing. Normally, we write abstract after completing the whole paper. Okay. In this one, there should be one or two sentences about the overall idea of your paper, then what kind of objective you have, then what methodology you had used in this one, then what is the major findings are there, and one or two major implications. This is the whole story is there. But again, it's art of writing, it's lots of practice is required because this is something that everyone is going to read. Even when a paper comes to me as a reviewer, the first thing I see the title and the abstract. I read the abstract. If it looks clean for me, I accept for review. If I don't like it, immediately I say reject, that I don't like to even to spend my time, because one review means at least 2 to 3 hours. Why I'm going to waste my 3 hour time to review a paper when somebody has not written properly even the abstract? But normally it not happen. Why? Because I'm reviewing only the top tier journals. So at least those who are submitting there, they know that what is the important things are there. So introduction is important there. You need to write method, you need to write result, implication, and there should be around 200 to 250 words in that one. This is the complete details are there. Again, I will share the slides with you guys so you can have the details of this kind of thing. Understand one thing that is very mechanical. Again, in a writing abstract is there is no much creativity is there because there are fixed formats are there. For example, introduction, there should be at least one or two sentences of introduction should be there. Then your objective should be there, method should be there, result should be there, implications should be. So everything is required. You cannot miss. The only creative part is there that how good you can write in 2 or 3 sentences the whole methodology. So you have written a methodology maybe in a 3,000 words. Now the challenge is there that you have to write the whole methodology in maybe less than say 30 or 40 words. Say for example, your results, you have written results in 2,000 words, but here your results will be summarized in less than say 40 words kind of thing. And this is where the problem is there. Like I can share my own personal experience. Long back, I was writing one paper and I took the initial draft was like a 37,000 words. And the journal was there. That journal was saying that anything between 12 to 15,000. And now I have written 37,000 words and I did first revision because I was knowing that I have to make it short. So I did first revision from 35,000. I came to like a 30,000 words. And then I was thinking there is nothing that I can delete, but it was almost like a double of the limit that I was having. So again, I did the revision and at least 3, 4 revision I did and I reached like 18,000 word. And after that, I was completely not, convinced that I can delete anything, but still I was forced to delete another 4,000 words. Of course, I deleted many things that I was believing that it is one of the best things that I have written, but there is no choice, because what is your ultimate objective? Your ultimate objective is not what you have written. Ultimate objective is that what you have written should be published, and should be published means you have to follow the guidelines of the journal. So abstract is something that you always struggle, because you have written a lot and somebody is asking you to write very minimum like 200 words to summarize the whole story, and that is where your practice will work, so you have to write initially a draft. Maybe your initial draft will be like 400 words, then you read again, summarize it and do it. So that's why it takes time. It's not like that you can sit in 2 hours and you can complete the job. You have to spend some reasonable good amount of time to make sure that ultimately you reach to the limit, plus you reach your objective nicely. Means you have written everything, it's clean, it's clear, it's communicating everything cleanly at the same time within the limit, and that is where the challenge is there. But again, it's a part of practice, nothing more is there. Okay, so it says, the purpose in one sentence, significance in one and two sentence, method in two sentence, any technique, the technical analysis in one sentence, main finding in a two sentence kind of thing, and you can complete this one. After this, the third most important thing, your title, your abstract, and the third one is the keywords. Normally, people don't care about the keywords, but please remember the keywords are used for any kind of database searches. So if you are writing a research paper and you want that people should find your paper when they search on the databases, number one, and number two, your paper should get some reasonable citation over a period of time, then you have to be very careful about your keywords, because if you are using the proper keywords, then your paper will be easily searchable, means anyone will search your paper, any paper, your paper will be shown on first and second page of the Google Scholar. Once it is shown, then people will download and read, and then people will cite. If your paper is it's not shown on any kind of database because you are not using a proper keyword, then your paper will not be shown. Not shown means nobody will download, nobody will read, and nobody will cite. Ultimately, you will not get any real impact or output of your research paper, because after publishing your research paper, the second most important thing is there, that your paper should be cited, because that will add I-10 index for you as an author and your S index as an author. And everyone is working hard to increase their I-10 and H index as an author. So you have to be very, very careful when you are selecting the keywords.